Good afternoon, dear ladies. B'siyata dishmaya. We are in the halachot shiur, and let's start by blessing Be'ezrat Hashem that we'll all have the zchut to greet Mashiach tzidkenu b'chamim b'oim b'mera b'yameinu amen. Eliyahu Navi, Eliyahu Tishbi, Eliyahu Giladi, b'mera Mashiach David, Eliyahu Navi Zachur Latov. And we all have the zchut to see the building of Beit HaMikdash HaShlishi b'mera b'yameinu amen. כי עין בעין אראו בשוב אדוני ציון, אתה תקום תרחם ציון כי עת לחננה כי בא מועד. השיבנו אדוני אליך ונשוב החדש ימינו כקדם. And we all have the zchut to go to Eretz Israel on the wings of eagle, and we all have part in Eretz Israel. And בסייעתא דשמיא, בשם השם נעשה ונצליח, אין עוד מלבדו, השם שפתי תפתח ופי יגיד תהילתך, and everything בעזרת השם that we do is בשם כל ישראל. Dear ladies, the שיעור בעזרת השם is לעילוי נשמת חי ידיד יהודית בת רחל, עליה שלום תהי נשמתה צרור צרור החיים, ולעילוי נשמת מרים בת דבורה, עליה שלום תהי נשמתה צרור צרור החיים, רומן שלום בן מנחם מיכאל הנולד מרחל נדיה, עליו השלום תהי נשמתו צרור צרור החיים, שמואל בנימין שמחה אלתר בן ליפמן ולאה, עליו השלום תהי נשמתו צרור צרור החיים, חנה תהילה בת זיזת, עליה השלום תהי נשמתה צרור צרור החיים, וסיומה בן אפרים הנולד ממרים, עליו השלום תהי נשמתו צרור צרור החיים. Furthermore, בעזרת השם, everything is לרפואה שלמה to כלל עמו ישראל, mentally and physically, and בעזרת השם רפואה שלמה של רחל בת דינה, דינה בת רחל, גבריאל בן רות, לאה בת פרידה, לייזר בן סורי, לייזר בן ראיה, תמי בת דבורה, נליה נקדם בת זינה זילפה, אינה חנה בת זויה זילפה, רחל בת רבקה, אבינועם בן רבקה, דפנה בת שושנה, גיטל בת שרה, מעיין הודיה בת אסתר, מלכה בת אלינורה מרגות, האדמו"ר מקסוב, רבי שרגא פייבוש בן מלכה בעזרת השם, בסייעתא דשמיא רפואה שלמה שרה רחל בת חסידה, שרה חי ידיד יהודית בת רחל, דבורה בת שרנה, ורפואה שלמה לבלה בת אסתר, רפואה שלמה בעזרת השם לאנג'לה עדינה בת גולדשרה, and everybody that needs everybody in all of the list בעזרת השם, that we will hear good news. בסייעתא דשמיא. טוב, dear ladies, we are finishing נטילת ידיים, washing our hands before the meal. So, and I had a few questions about, Adina asked me about Kemach Yashan, so I will refer to it because anyway we are before Pesach, Bezrat Hashem, and also a question about Shir HaShirim, when do we read it, Bezrat Hashem, and we'll start with this, and then we'll go to Zoraya, Sowing, and we'll go, this is L'chot Shabbat, and we'll go Bezrat Hashem to guarding our tongue. And let's start. We are starting Bezrat Hashem, we're continuing chapter 40 in Kitzur Shulchan Aruch. So we are in chapter 40, and it says like this, chapter 40, halacha 14, and I'm reminding you, any questions that you have, please refer to a chacham, to a rabbi that knows all of the halachot. Aseh lecha rav etzeh midat hasafek. You should see that you have a rabbi that you can ask all of the halachot in order to have the correct answer, Bezrat Hashem. So halacha 14 says, asur le'echol belo netilat yadayim. We are not allowed to eat bread without washing our hands. אפילו אם רוצה לכרוך ידיו במפה. Even if you plan to wrap your hands with a cloth, we are not allowed without doing נטילת ידיים. ואם הוא בדרך ואין לו מים, so if we are traveling and we don't have water, אם יודע כי בעוד 4 מילין לפניו ומי לאחוריו ימצא מים, but if we know that like in front of us, in the direction in front of us, like 4 miles in front of us or mile behind us, if we'll go back, we will find water. We have to either go back or to continue 4 miles in order to do נטילת ידיים. אבל, it says, but, גם אם שמה לא ימצא מים, but if you know that you won't have 4 miles before you, a mile behind you, you can't find water, או שהוא עם חבורה ומתיירא להיפרד מהם, or you are traveling with a group and you're afraid to lose the group, to be separated from the group, וכן מי שיש לו שאר אונס שאינו קשור, שאינו יכול ליטול ידיים, or if you have any emergency situation that you are unable to do נטילת ידיים, יכרוך ידיו במפה. So the solution, but this is if really you don't have water. So the solution is, יכרוך ידיו במפה, you will put a cloth over your hands, you'll wrap your hands with a cloth, or you'll put gloves over your hands, או ילבש בתי ידיים, בתי ידיים is gloves, כפפות, ויאכל כך, and you will eat the bread this way. But even if we are traveling, dear ladies, we have, you know, the small bottles or bigger bottles that we take with water with us. We should take them and do the netilat yadayim with the bottle, בסייעתא דשמיא, so we don't have הבאתי בקבוק? לא, לא נורא. So we don't have a problem בסייעתא דשמיא. Oh, תודה. So like, always see that you have in your car for netilat yadayim. Wherever you go, because you never know, you can be on your way to Florida in the middle of nowhere and you don't have and you want to eat, so always see that you have a bottle that you can do netilat yadayim, and then there's no problem. But if you don't have, and it's an emergency situation and you're part of a group, or either you're a part of a group and you don't want to be separated from the group by going back a mile or going forward 4 miles in order to find a place with water to do netilat yadayim, to do the washing of the hands, then besiyata dishmaya you're allowed to wrap your hands with a cloth, or to put gloves on your hands, and by this to eat the bread like this. So besiyata dishmaya, this is one. And now I'm going to go to kemach yashan, because the next thing that we're going to learn is to say the bracha over hamotzi lechem min haaretz, over the bread, and be'ezrat Hashem. And where do we open the bread? So the Ashkenazim, they cut the bread, and we are botzim tabed, the Sfaradim botzeh, we open the bread. So where do we do that? Okay, so let's go now to lechem kemach yashan. So what does it mean, kemach yashan? Kemach yashan, it's literally it's old flour. It doesn't mean that it's old, but it means that you remember that every Pesach we learn before Pesach besiyata dishmaya, that on the second day of Pesach, on the 16th of Pesach, the children of Israel used to bring the Omer. So it says in Chumash Vayikra, Parashat Emor, this is by the Zoraya, this is by the Torah, kemach yashan, old flour. So we have to look besiyata dishmaya also when we buy flour, that it's written that it's kemach yashan, or lelo chashash chadash. There's no doubt of new. And we'll go to Vayikra, to Parashat Emor. Okay. So Hashem says to Moshe Rabbeinu to tell the children of Israel, it's Parashat Emor, Chumash Vayikra, chapter 23. It starts in verse 9. Vaydaber Hashem el Moshe le'emor. Hashem tells Moshe to tell the children of Israel, Daber el bnei Yisrael va'amarta aleim, ki tavo el haaretz asher ani noten lachem. When you come to speak to the children of Israel, and when you shall enter the land that I give you, which is the land of Israel, and he says, uktzartem et ktsira, and you reap its harvest, and then he says, ve'vetem et omer reshit ktsirchem el hakohen. So you shall bring an omer, the omer offering, from your first harvest to the kohen. והניף את העומר לפני השם לרצונכם, ממחרת השבת יניפנו הכהן. And he shall wave the omer, this is the omer offering, before Hashem, to gain favor for you in front of Hashem. ועשיתם ביום הנפכם את העומר. עכשיו, ממחרת השבת means the second day of Pesach. ועשיתם ביום הנפכם את העומר כבש תמים בין שנתו לעולה להשם, and you also bring a sacrifice of a lamb to השם, ומנחתו 2 עשרונים סולת בלולה בשמן, אישה להשם ריח ניחוח ונזכו יין ריבי טהין. ולחם, and it continues and it says, ולחם וקלי וקרמל לא תאכלו עד עצם היום הזה, עד אביאכם את קורבן אלוהיכם, חוקת עולם לדורותיכם בכל מושבותיכם. You shall not eat bread or roasted kernels or plump kernels, which means seeds, until this very day, until you bring the offering of your God. So this is by the Torah. We are not allowed to eat new flour, only after the offering of the Omer, which is in the second day of Pesach. So Pesach is on the 15th of the month of Nisan, on the 16th. So it's a beautiful description of it that we know in Rosh Hashanah, Masechet Rosh Hashanah in the Gemara, it says that we have Tu B'Shvat, and Bet Shammai says this is the new year for the trees, and it's on the first day of Shvat, the month of Shvat. Hillel says it's on the 15th of the month of Shvat, and we know that on Pesach, on Pesach, Nidon Ha'olam al HaTvuah, all of the world is judged over the harvest, Bezrat Hashem. It's like Rosh Hashanah for the harvest. And this is B'siyata Dishmaya. It says when the first day of Pesach comes out, we're going into the second day of Pesach. All of the people, all of the head of the people, of the children of Israel, Alchu Lasadot, they went to the barley, to the barley fields, because the barley is the first grain that is ready to be harvested before all of the other all of the other 4 grains. So they go to the fields of barley, smuchim liRushalayim, that are near Jerusalem. Ki ein haomer ba ela miYehuda, because we take the Omer only from the territory of Yehuda, which is around Yerushalayim. And בטקס חגיגי קוצרים את חופן שעורים, and with a celebration they cut the שעורים, and then they grind it, שממנו ניתן לטחון עשירית היפה קמח סולת, they grind it in order to be a powder, to be flour, and then they threshing it, and then they put it in a napa, in a sifter. They use 13 sifters. 13 times they sift the flour, b'siyata dishma, 13 times, like echad, Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad. 13 times they sift the flour, וניפוי קמחה ב13 נפות, כדי שהתוצר המוגמר אכן יהיה סולת נקייה, in order to be sure that this is a pure solid pure flour, ראוי להיות מונף על גבי המזבח, that will be an offering over the altar. הנפת העומר, all of this celebration is on the 16th of the month of Nisan, the second day of Pesach, וניסן התירה לעם לאכול מן היבול החדש. And from there on the 17th in the land of Israel, the children of Israel are allowed to eat from the new harvest. So until the 16th of Nisan, including the 16th of Nisan, including that day, we are not allowed to eat new harvest. We eat only kemach yashan, old flour. Kemach yashan, and it's also called, and it's easy to follow it because it's written on the flour that we buy. We just need to search that it's kemach yashan, that it's old flour. And there's another thing that is usually written on Tudat Kashrut, lelo chashash chadash. I'm trying to translate it, which means there's no, without a doubt of new. It's not new flour. So either you look at the label of the kemach, that it's written kemach yashan. שם יש לנו את זה? תסתכלי שם על הקמח רגע. תראי אם רשום שם קמח. So you look at the label and you see that it's written kemach yashan and lelo chashash chadash. So either this or this, b'siyata dishmaya, should be written on it. And by this we know that we are doing the right thing. In the land of Israel, from the 17th, they're allowed to eat the new harvest. תביא לי, אני רוצה להראות להם. So, I want to show you בסייעתא דשמיא. Here, for example, this is kemach. This is from Weiss Bakery in Borough Park. And you see over here, it's written kemach yashan. So all of the הפרשות challah we buy because we know that, Baruch Hashem, that we give you the right thing and everything is kosher and there's no halachic questions about it. So you look at the label to see that it's written kemach yashan or lelo chashash chadash, that there's no, without a doubt of new. And outside the land of Israel, from the 18th, we are allowed to eat from the new harvest. So to be on the safe side, you ask the rabbi, Bezrat Hashem, in your community, if the flour that you're buying is the right flour, Bezrat Hashem. So Bezrat Hashem, this is about Kemach Yashan. It's the offering. It's on the second day. We always speak about it before Pesach when we speak about the halachot of Pesach. It's the offering of the Omer B'siyata Dishmaya. And after the offering of the Omer, Hashem allows us, because He gives us a blessing. It says that the Kohen Agadol, it says in Chumash Vayikra, Parashat Emor, that the Kohen, ממחרת השבת יניפנו הכהן. So just let me find it over here. It says over here that on the second day of Pesach, B'siyata Dishmaya, the Kohen puts the offering, raises the offering of the Omer, and by this Hashem gives us a blessing over everything, over all of the food that we are eating, all of the flour, all of the grains, Bezrat Hashem. Why? Because on Pesach we are judged over the wheat. So this is about Kemach Yashan. And we're going to Shulchan Aruch. I'll just go also to Shulchan Aruch. This is Shulchan Aruch של רבי מרן יוסף קארו. מרן יוסף קארו. This is Shulchan Aruch. It says in Orach Chaim, chapter 489, Halacha Yud. It's Halacha Yud. And it says over there, אסור לאכול חדש, we are not allowed to eat new flour, אף בזמן הזה, even today, בין לחם, בין כלי, בין קרמל, all kinds of bread, עד תחילת ליל י"ח בניסן, until the beginning of the 18th of the month of Nisan, outside the land of Israel, ובארץ ישראל, in the land of Israel, עד תחילת ליל י"ז בניסן, until the night of the 17th of Nisan. So this is halacha, this is also a prohibition by the Torah. So b'siyata dishmaya, now that we know this is kemach yashan, we will be more sensitive to this, and we'll look at the labels and see that we are buying kemach yashan to eat, Bezrat Hashem. Now, okay, now we're going to speak Bezrat Hashem about Shir HaShirim. I was asked, so Shir HaShirim, it's part of Mikra. You know, when Moshe Rabbeinu descended to the mountain of Sinai in order to receive the Torah, for 40 days and 40 nights he was studying Torah. And every day he forgot everything that he studied because it's so intensive and so much material, and he forgot everything, but he made such an effort to study the Torah. Hashem gave it to him as a present. Which means, you understand that we think that we're very wise, but it's not even in our ability to do that. But if we show Hashem that we love Him and we want to follow His commandments and we want to learn and we want to study, Hashem eventually will give us as a present all of His Torah. So Moshe Rabbeinu, how did he know that there's night and day? So when he studied the Mikra, then he knew it's night. When he studied Torah Shebe'al Peh, the oral Torah, when he studied the Mikra, he knew it's daytime. Mikra, which means Tehillim, he has the Chumash, Bereshit, Shemot, Vayikra, Bamidbar, Dvarim, all of the Tanakh. He knew already that this is daytime. But when he studied the oral Torah, he knew it's night. So the Arizal says that the Mikra is not good to learn at night. What does it mean at night? After sunset, between sunset to midnight. And you know, midnight changes because it depends on the length of the day. So always you look at Zmanim to see when is, now I think it's 12:10, approximately 12:10 is midnight. And before, when the day was shorter, it was already even 11:44, it was already midnight, because it depends on the length of the day. So B'siyata Dishmaya, so we need, between sunset and midnight, it's not good to read Tehillim, it's not good to read Shir HaShirim. So this is by the Arizal. Why? Because a person draws judgment upon himself when he reads it alone. So I told you, remember, we have a few solutions for this. So the rabbis say we can read Tehillim now, and why can we do that? Because even the Chida read Tehillim for himself when he was sick at night. זכותו תגן עלינו. And why? Because we read it for sick people, and a lot of people are reading at the same time. So you remember that I gave you a card. We used to give a card about all of the sentences, 11 verses that start with the letter Nun and end with the letter Nun, in order to take evil eye away from yourselves. The 11 verses that we used to give it out, B'siyata Dishma. If you have it on the other side, it's written, הריני מצטרפת לקוראי התהילים בארץ ישראל ובעולם, that I'm joining all of the women or all of the people that are reading Tehillim now in the land of Israel and all over the world, לגאולת ורפואת כלל ישראל, for the salvation and the health of all of the children of Israel, בחן, בחסד וברחמים, with grace and mercy, ללא ייסורים כלל במהרה בימינו, without any suffering, quickly in our days, גאולה כללית ופרטית לעבודתה יתברך, salvation, individual salvation and public salvation for Klal Yisrael, in order that we will all be able to worship Hashem with a good heart. יהי רצון שתתקבל קריאתי בשם כל ישראל. May let it be the will that my prayer will be accepted in the name of all of the children of Israel. So what happens if we sit down and read Tehillim on our own at night? We draw judgment. Arizal says we draw judgment upon ourselves. Why? Because it's like the Sofer Stam. What does a Sofer Stam do? He writes the Tefillin, he writes the Mezuzah, he writes a book of Torah. So how does he write? The Sofer Stam starts writing the letters from left to right. And as we know that the left side is judgment and the right side is mercy. So he starts from left to right, every letter. But the whole word, the whole teva, the whole word is written from right to left, from mercy. It starts from mercy. So if we are considered a letter, so if we sit down and we read Tehillim at night, so we are letters, so we draw judgment upon ourselves, because he writes it from left to right. So this is judgment upon ourselves. But if we include ourselves in all of the groups that are now reading Tehillim all over the world, because even though it's night over here, but in Israel it's already morning. So we include ourselves with everybody that is reading Tehillim, the King David's Psalms. So at that time we are part of a group. And if we are part of a group, we are drawing only kindness, only mercy upon ourselves. So B'siyata Dishmaya, I saw Rav Ovadia Yosef says it's better to read it after midnight. But there's also rabbis that say that it's okay to read Shir HaShirim even at night. We read it on Yom Tov and B'siyata Dishmaya on Shabbat, there's no problem. The problem is in the weekdays. So it says, I saw that Rav Mutzafi says you can still read it between sunset and midnight. Rav Ovadia Yosef says it's better not to read it at that time. So either you join yourself, you include yourself with all of the groups that are reading it now, or you're waiting after midnight and starting to read it. Because, for example, King David started writing Tehillim after midnight. He used to wake up. He had a violin, and he heard it. The wind will play the violin next to him, and he would wake up and write Tehillim. So B'siyata Dishmei, this is a solution for everybody that asked me. Now, Be'ezrat Hashem, I want to go to Hilchot Shabbat. Next time we're going to continue. We're going to start in Kitzur Shulchan Aruch. We're going to start Hilchot B'tziat Apat u'Birkat HaMotzi, the breaking the bread and the bracha of the Motzi, Be'ezrat Hashem. We're going to learn about it next time. Now we're going to go, Be'ezrat Hashem, רק רגע, to Hilchot Shabbat. We're going to go to Hilchot Shabbat. And then we'll go to guarding our tongue. We are in the second melacha, and the second, you remember everything that we wrote. The second melacha, we have sowing, Be'ezrat Hashem. We learned choresh, and now we're going to sowing. So just let me open the books. And you remember I told you, B'siyata Dishmaya, this is a good book to learn all of the Melachot from it. Hilchot Shabbat. Okay. And we have also in Hebrew a good book. And I also showed you for the children that you can go through this with your children. And it's a very nice and an understandable book. את יכולה להביא לי אותו שם? מתחת את רואה את הספר הירוק? כן, הירוק. Which is also a very good book to study. This is the 39 Melachot and all of the Melachot של Shabbat B'siyata Dishmaya. It's a very good book to study from. With your children. It's inviting. It's colorful, and it's good for us just to go through everything. Even it shows the Mishkan and all of the melachot that were done in the Mishkan. But because of this, we have the prohibition of the 39 melachot. And as you see, it's very nice. You can speak to the children. You can sit and study with them. It's a very nice book to study with the children, the 39 halachot. Okay, and there's also in Hebrew an inviting book. It's by Shulchan Aruch של המרן יוסף קארו, and also by Rav Ovadia Yosef. So you see over here, it also has Melachot Zoraya. It's a very nice and inviting book, B'siyata Dishmaya, to learn in Hebrew. This is the book, Melachot Shabbat. Okay, now that we have everything in front of us, let's start Be'ezrat Hashem. Okay, sowing, Zoraya. So this is, we're going to, even though in the Mishnah, chapter 7, verse halacha 2, it starts with Zoraya. We started with Choresh, B'siyata Dishmaya. We started with plowing, and we started with it. Because this is the first thing that we do to prepare the ground in order to plant seeds inside of it. So Rashi says, why is Zoraya, why is sowing not allowed? So Rashi says because during the time of the Mishkan, when they were in the desert, and you know, this is it says that that the land of the desert is not fertile land, but it says that it was the soil became miraculously B'siyata Dishmaya mamash. It was nes, it was a miracle, fertile and produced. Though all of this was through the divine intervention. So Rashi says that all of this melacha to plant, it's what was it was in order to plant seeds, to produce seeds and to produce grains that will be used to be for coloring, for dyeing the curtains and the covering of the Mishkan. And Rav Haigaon, he says that all of this was for the Lechem HaPanim, the showcase of the bread, which is Sidra de Pat, and also the meal offering. So all of this was in order to plan that we will have wheat, that we will have barley, and we can use it, B'siyata Dishmaya, for meal offering and the showbread, Lechem HaPanim, all of the 12 bread that we spoke about it previously, B'siyata Dishmaya. So now we're going to see what is Zoraya. So what is the definition of it? So it's defined as the initiation or promotion of plant growing, which means everything that promotes plant growing is considered Zoraya, or everything that enhances the growth of any form of vegetation is Zoraya, and it's sowing, planting, watering, and any other means. I'm going to go and give it to you so we will see any other means. For example, smoking a tree to stop insects. To stop insects that will prevent the fruit from growing normally is forbidden on Shabbat. Spraying the tree, also taking and spraying the tree in order to prevent insects from damaging the fruit is also a prohibition on Shabbat. Spraying weeds, the weeds around the trees in order to destroy them and that the tree will grow better is also prohibition on Shabbat. Painting the trees part of the trees, part of the bark, after pruning with a special chemical to improve the tree is also forbidden on Shabbat. Painting the tree, sometimes you see the workers paint the tree at the beginning. I'll show you this. I don't know if you can see it, but painting the tree in order that insects will not reach the fruit is also forbidden on Shabbat. Anything that enhances the growth and of vegetation is not allowed. Planting a tree on Shabbat, of course, is not allowed. Not only that, even in a pot that you have at home, because when we speak about Zoraya, it's a connection with the ground. So even a pot at home that we use, like I have here pots, we're not allowed to touch them on Shabbat. So planting flowers on Shabbat is considered Zoraya, is prohibited. Cutting off dry leaves so the tree will look better is also considered Zoraya. Pruning dry roses, for example, so that the living roses grow better. This is enhancing the growth of the roses is also prohibited on Shabbat. Pruning dry branches so the tree will grow better or it won't be heavy. So it's also prohibited on Shabbat. Watering on Shabbat is considered Zoraya, like we said, because this enhances the growth. So we don't water. Soaking wheat in a bowl of water is prohibited because of Zoraya. We cannot soak wheat or barley in water before planting them, because this also enhances the seeds. So it's like Zoraya. Furthermore, placing fruit on the window. Sometimes we place fruit next to, for example, avocado, banana, tomatoes, בסייעתא דשמיא. We place them next to the window, that they should be ripened in the sun is prohibited because we are preparing from Shabbat to a regular day. So we're not allowed to prepare from Shabbat to a regular day. Like we spoke, after Seudah Shlishit, after Shalishidis, we're not allowed to take anything from the table, because if we're taking and we're washing, it's like we're preparing for Motzei Shabbos. So we're not allowed. We leave everything as it is. So also over here, placing the fruit in window shell so that that they should be ripened in the sun. It's prohibited because of mechin mishabat lechol, and not because of Zoraya. Now there's questions. There are people who place, for example, before Sukkot, placing an apple next to a etrog, okay, so isn't prohibited because of Zoraya, but because of Tikkun Kli, fixing a vessel. And what does it mean? So Rav Chaim Kanievsky, alav shalom zchuto tagן alenu, he said that when we place an apple next to a etrog, we don't do it, women, because we don't know about it, but the men don't know about it. Next to etrog on Shabbat is to help turn the etrog to be more yellow, okay, to make it yellow. So it's not prohibited because of Zoraya, because the etrog is not connected anymore to the ground. So it's not because of Zoraya sowing. Even though the etrog becomes better, we're improving the etrog by it becoming more yellow because it's not attached to the tree. However, it is nevertheless prohibited because this is fixing a utensil, זה נקרא תיקון כלי, and we are not allowed to do that. Furthermore, בסייעתא דשמיא, like we said, planting seeds on Shabbat, whether covering them with earth or not, is included in prohibition of Zoraya, which means if we are eating outside, let's say we're eating outside and we are eating an apple, we're eating, and the seeds will fall on the ground, we are not allowed to do that. Bezrat Hashem, we can have a plate and see that everything will be in the plate and not on the ground, b'siyata d'ishmaya. So we're eating food that has seeds in the garden or drinking in the gardens because we know that we will spill. But if we have a plate underneath, so it shouldn't be a problem. So if we're eating outside, Bezrat Hashem, see that you have a plate and everything is on the plate, Bezrat Hashem. So anything that spills, this enhances growing because it's like watering. For example, if we have chairs outside in the garden and it was raining and there's water on the chair, so if the ground is saturated and you move the chair and the water fell on it, so it's not a prohibition. But if there were a water spilled on the chair and the ground is not saturated, then if you spilled the water, you move the chair and the water is spilled on the ground, then this is a prohibition of Zoraya because you're watering the ground. So in this, it's including no spitting, because we spit, we also enhance the growing of the plants. So do not spit and not saliva on the ground. Therefore, one must not spit on grass or plants on Shabbat or Yom Tov because the saliva can promote a plant growth. Okay, and also we'll speak about Sukkah in a few minutes. The Rambam and the Tosafot maintain that plants, even a minimum amount of seeds, is prohibited because of Zoraya. Know that it takes 3 days for the seed to start rotting in the ground in order to grow from this. So it is forbidden to place seeds on ground on Shabbat, even if they are removed immediately after Shabbat. However, others maintain that seeds begin taking root only after 3 days. Therefore, no prohibition was violated if they are removed within 3 days of planting. So, but we need to remember that we did this, so b'siyata d'ishmaya, see that you're not doing it. It is permissible to throw seeds and fruit pits in a sea sand, because this is not a soil that will grow plants in it, or in sand in a public garden, which is a sandbox. I'll give you a picture, b'siyata d'ishmaya. So this is because over here the soil does not grow anything. Because the soil cannot take root, the seeds cannot take root and grow in that sand. Furthermore, placing seeds in front, if you have chickens outside and you put seeds in front of them, so you need to put an amount that you know that they're going to eat and won't stay for 3 days, that it can also go inside the ground and then grow from it. It is forbidden for one to wash his hands in his own garden on Shabbat, even though he has no intention to water. Zebsek Resha, we spoke about it. which means you're doing an action that is allowed. You're doing netilat yadayim, you're washing your hands, but this can cause a prohibited action on Shabbat, so we are not allowed to wash our hands in the garden, even though we don't have any intention to water the ground in order to grow the plants. Okay, it is forbidden to close a sliding roof over the porch. So I'm going to give you, this is a porch, okay, and you see over here, this is a sliding roof over the porch. So it's forbidden to close the sliding roof over the porch during a rainstorm. If sliding, it exposes flowers in the window box underneath. Because the rain will water, because if you have, you have plants, the rain, by moving, sliding the roof, the rain will water the plants. So if the roof was open before Shabbat and you didn't close it before Shabbat, it should stay open. However, if the intention in closing the roof is only to prevent water from entering the house, and there is no interest whatsoever in watering the flower pots, it is then considered a psek resha de la nachele, that is prohibited. So you're not allowed to do that. Okay, one should not eat any meal that includes water or liquid over ground or grass, since when we empty it, it will fall on the ground, and we are prohibiting watering the ground. So, dear ladies, we're speaking now about the sukkah. So see that on the sukkah you have carpets on the floor, on the ground. So see that you have carpets, that if something falls, it falls on the carpet and not on the ground, and then if anything spills, there's no worry that a liquid will spill or seed will spill. Everything is on the carpet. B'siyata dishmaya. One should follow the poskim that forbid urinating over plants on Shabbat. So it says, even though the Shulchan Aruch Orach Chaim, it says in chapter 336, halacha 3, rules that it is permissible to urinate over plants on Shabbat because the acidity burns the seed and does not cause them to grow. Aval, but it says that some of the rabbis state that it still can help because it depends on the acidity of the urine, so it can still enhance the growing of the plants. So it's forbidden to urinate on plants. It's also by the rabbis forbidden to place flowers that are still closed but will open in a vase in the vase of water on Shabbat, even though they are not connected to the ground. But if the flower will be open on Shabbat, if you place them inside the water, you have already a vase with water, and you place them and it will be open, it's forbidden on Shabbat. It is permissible to return. So what happens with a lulav? It is permissible to return a lulav on Yom Tov. And now it's a different definition on Shabbat and Yom Tov. So you know what happens with the lulav. Usually we take a towel and we water it and we wrap it, the lulav, or it's inside a vase with water. So it's permissible to return a lulav on Yom Tov to the same water it was in before the onset of Yom Tov. Everything has to be before Yom Tov. So even if you have a wet towel, it has to be before Yom Tov already, but not in different water. This is similar to placing branches that have no flowers, and therefore this is muktzeh. This is not muktzeh. In the vase, it's similar to placing branches that have no flowers in a vase with water on Shabbat and Yom Tov, which is permissible in order to keep them fresh. But on Shabbat, lulav is muktzeh, so we're not allowed to put it back in water. What about fragments of hadassim? You know, hadas that we say over them, we bless over the smell. So hadassim and other fragments, twigs, used in shul are not muktzeh. So therefore it's permissible to place them back in water in order to preserve them the freshness. So this is, we are allowed to do it on Shabbat. Of course, to see that the vase is before Shabbat and has water before Shabbat. Another thing, if a fully opened flower is removed, before Shabbat it's already in the vase and with water. But if on Shabbat something happened, it fell or was removed during Shabbat, it may be returned to the vase if the flower is open totally. It may be returned to the vase, provided that the vase is not muktzeh, which means that if it was placed somewhere before Shabbat, this is what I told you, that before Shabbat you place it, and before Shabbat with no intention of moving it, because muktzeh means that we're not allowed to move things. There are a few definitions of muktzeh, we'll speak about it. So it's no intention of moving it from that place throughout all of the Shabbat. If the flower is still closed and it will be open, if we put it in the water, the rabbis forbid it to return to the water. So only a fully opened flower we can place it back in the vase. If it was before Shabbat, the vase is standing before Shabbat with water. Otherwise, you cannot put it back. Okay. It is forbidden to place hadassim in water to keep them from drying out on the first day of Sukkot, when it falls on Shabbat. When it falls on Shabbos, so it's forbidden because they are muktzeh mechamad gufo. Anything that is used on Shabbat, anything not used on Shabbat because of its essence, like I told you, this is muktzeh on Shabbat, and Yom Tov it's not, but on Shabbat it's muktzeh. So if we have the hadassim, if the hadassim is outside the water on Shabbat, it's considered muktzeh, like the lulav is muktzeh on Shabbat, then we cannot put them back in water. It is forbidden to place arava branches in water on Shabbat, the same thing, b'siyata dishmaya. Even though they would only take root after Shabbat, we are forbidden to put the arava in water on Shabbat. Let's continue. It is forbidden to open a root of a warm house, hot house, chamama in Hebrew, to provide the plants with air or sun. It's by the Torah because on Shabbat we can't enhance the growing of the growing of plants, any vegetation. B'siyata dishmaya. Like I told you, the flower pot, b'siyata dishmaya, placing a flower pot, whether or not it has a hole in the bottom or not, in soil, is also forbidden on Shabbat. Trimming dead leaves, we said, also is forbidden. Patching a tree with fertilizers, spraying with insects, also is forbidden. I hope I said we went through almost everything. Oh, splitting, grafting, splitting a branch in order to put it inside the ground, in order to you split it, you cut it in another to form a new growth. So this is also forbidden because it enhances the growth of the vegetation. Okay, let's see if we went through almost everything. Oh, it is forbidden to cover fruit growing on tree with bags to prevent them from becoming damaged by insects. So we don't cover them because this is also enhancing the growth of the fruits. It is permissible to place a towel or a mattress under a tree to protect fruit from falling on the ground and becoming ruined, like this. Okay. Even though this prevents damage to the fruit, it is permissible because the fruit are no longer attached to the ground when it falls. Because, like we said in the beginning, that Zoraya applies only for something that is attached to the ground. So even if we place a pot, a flower pot, with a hole, without a hole, on the ground, this is also, whether it has a hole, doesn't have a hole in the bottom, this is also prohibited. However, if the fruit will if the fruit will remain on the towel, it's forbidden to place it there because of bitul kli memlachto, which means causing a useful utensil, which is the towel itself, to become forbidden, because once it fell on it, it's forbidden on Shabbat. So you don't touch it, you leave it like it is. There's another thing, another halacha. It says it is common to practice in orchards and hothouses to cover young plants with rows of plastic sheets. It is forbidden to cover seeds or plants on Shabbat with plastic to protect the fruit's growth because of the prohibition of Zoraya. And also if it's covered in order to protect them, it's also forbidden. Tying a plant to a pole in order that it will stay straight. If we take a plant and we tie it to a pole, it's also forbidden. It's a prohibition on Shabbat because of Zoraya. Let me see that if we went through most of the things. I'll look over here. I think we went through almost everything. Okay, so I'm now just summarizing what we're not allowed because of Zoraya, of sowing. So, האוכלים בגינה בשבת צריכים להיזהר מאוד בשעת אכילת הפרי. So I'm reminding you, eating a food with seeds on Shabbat in the garden בסייעתא דשמיא. We need to be very careful that the seed will not fall. So either you have a plate or you're eating on a table, and then you have to remind yourselves that the seeds will not fall on the ground, because if it falls, it can cause it can be considered planting, sowing, so it's forbidden on Shabbat. גרעיני חמניה או זרעונים כלואים, which means sunflower seeds or roasted seeds, we are allowed to eat, because after we open it, the sunflower seeds, we eat the inside. This doesn't grow, the shell does not grow. So מותר לאכול בגינה, היות שאין סופם להצמיח, because they don't cause growing of the plant. האוכלים בגינה בשבת אסור בנטילת ידיים. We're not allowed to do נטילת ידיים on the grass, on the ground, but even though that we don't mean it, but it's פסיק רישא, we spoke about it. Then ירקות ופרות תלושים מותר להשקותם בשבת כדי לא יקמשו. So if the fruits are not attached to the tree בסייעתא דשמיא, and in order that they won't become spoiled, you can see it's a sprinkler. If the sprinkler works, it's just like the light that works, which means on Shabbat we light the light before Shabbat, or we have a clock for Shabbat. So if we have a sprinkler outside that waters, if we put it before Shabbat, then there's no problem. But if we didn't put it, we're not allowed to use it. עצי בשמים והדסים מותר להיטענם בשבת, לכתחילה לתוך הגרדל שיש בו מים. So we said about hadassim, that it's not muktzeh on Shabbat, so we can put them in the vase on Shabbat, vase that we already have before Shabbat, Be'ezrat Hashem. But flowers that are closed, we are not allowed, because they can be opened, and it's like fixing them, enhancing them, so we don't put them in the vase before Shabbat. And we have to see that we have a vase that already is prepared before Shabbat, and we are not moving it, and has water. Another thing, מותר לפתוח את חלון הדירה בשבת, אף אם יש עציצים והשמש גורמת לצמיחתם, בתנאי שלא מתכוון לצמיחת העציץ. Which means, what happens if we have like this, in front of the window, okay, we have vases or pots in front of the window, and we want to open the window that, you know, we have fresh air coming in. So we are allowed to open the window because we are not opening it in order to cause enhancement to the growth of the plants. So if we don't have the intention, we're allowed to open the window. I think we went through everything. V'siyata d'ishmaya. And the next thing that we're going to do is ripping and kotzer, and this is the next lesson. V'siyata d'ishmaya. Now we are going to guarding our tongue. Guarding our tongue. We are going to chapter 29 in Kitzur Shulchan Aruch. Okay, midot שירגיל בהן האדם את עצמו. Everything that we are studying is in order to be aware, בעזרת Hashem, of guarding our tongue, and we in between also studying the halachot of guarding our tongue. So this is moral and ethical rules which we should adopt in order to be deservable of the term human being. And this is what Rabbi Moshe Kordaver says in Tomer Dvorah B'siyata D'Ishmaya, that we will be deservable of the term human being. So it says, the first halacha says over here, אנשים חלוקים הם בדעותיהם, which is people vary in their character traits. We are not the same. Baruch Hashem, it would be very boring if we were the same. So Hashem gave us variety in the creation, variety of colors, smells, fruits, vegetables, everything is colorful, and also the people are colorful. And by this we can help each other, because if we were the same, we couldn't have helped each other. But because we are not the same, so we can help each other with different things. One that is better in one thing can help another person that is less better in that thing. So בסייעתא דשמיא, יש אדם שהוא בעל חימה וכועס תמיד. There's a person that has a nature of anger, and he's always forever bursting with anger. And this is worshipping other gods. A person who is angry all the time and you're afraid even to open your mouth at home. ויש אדם שדעתו מיושבת עליו ואינו כועס כלל. And there's a person that is always calm and he's not angry at all. או שהוא כועס פעם אחת בהרבה שנים. This is a blessing. Or he gets angry once in a lot of years. And we as mothers, we are dealing with the children all the time. B'ezrat Hashem, we should remember not to get angry. And even if we want to educate our children, the anger shouldn't touch our heart, only from the mouth outside, only to show them the right way. יש אדם שהוא גבל לב ביותר. There's a person that is a very extremely haughty, which means has proud. ויש שהוא שפל רוח, and a person that is extremely humble. יש שהוא בעל תאווה, and there's the person who is a lustful person. לא תשבע נפשו מהלוך בתאווה, that he's not satisfied from anything that he sees. ויש שהוא בעל לב טהור, and there's a person that has a pure heart. ולא יתאווה אפילו לדברים מעטים שהגוף צריך להם, and he doesn't have any desire even for things that is required physically for our body. יש בעל נפש רחבה. So it says that there's a person that has hunger to everything that he sees, to every wealth that he sees. שלא תשבע נפשו מכל ממון שבעולם. Has hunger for wealth, and he will never be satisfied from all of the wealth in the world. And for this, King Solomon says in Kohelet chapter 5 verse 9, אוהב כסף לא ישבע כסף, that he who loves money is not satisfied with money. He will never be satisfied with money. ויש שהוא מקצר נפשו, ודי לו אפילו דבר מועט שלא יספיק לו. And there's a person which even a small amount from everything that he has is enough for him. ולא ירדוף להשיג די צורכו, and he won't even try to have everything that he needs for his livelihood. יש שהוא מסגף עצמו ברע וקומץ את ידו. There's a person that will even won't eat and buy food for himself because he's cheap, and he closes his hands even for himself. Even for himself. ומה שאוכל משלו אוכל בצער, and everything that he eats from, that he has to pay for it and eat from it, he eats it with distress. He's sad. ויש הוא מפזר כל ממונו, and there's a person exactly on the opposite side that opens his hands and gives charity for everything and doesn't even save anything for himself. וכן בכל המידות והדעות, and also all of the other character traits and concepts. For example, בכל המידות והדעות כגון, there's מהולל, which means a person that is very cheerful. There's onen, gloomy, all the time is gloomy. One is very happy, one is very gloomy. There's a person that kilai, misery, always in misery. And there's a person besiyata dishmaya that has a noble heart, veshoa. And there's achzar, a cruel person. And there's Rahman, a compassionate person. Rach levav, there's a person that has a soft heart. And Vesh amitz, a amitz lev, which means a hard-hearted person. And all other things. We can continue to the second halacha. Haderech hatov ve'yashar, and this we had lessons a few years ago from the Rambam, Mishneh Torah LaRambam, about Ilchot De'ah, on the commandments of how to be noble b'siyata dishmaya, and what we need to adopt b'siyata dishmaya, the ethical and moral rules that we need to adopt. So there's a whole section in Mishneh Torah LaRambam, and we learned the whole section over there. And this walking in his way, walking in Hashem's way, is Tomer Dvorah. Tomer Dvorah shel Rabbi Moshe Cordovero, that is written by the 10 counts of the Kabbalah, is all about one commandment, which is walking in his way. So it's in Rabbi Moshe Cordovero wrote Tomer Dvorah about it, and I always tell you it's like Shulchan Aruch for fixing our character traits, and Rambam wrote it in Ilchot Deot in Mishneh Torah LaRambam. So it says over here, Derech hatov ve'yashar hu, that the good and the right path, הוא שירגיל האדם את עצמו ללכת בדרך האמצעי, that we should accustom ourselves to walk in the middle course, not to be extreme on the right side, not to be extreme on the left side, but to walk in the middle course. ולא יתאווה אלא לדברים שהגוף צריך להן, and that we won't have a desire only to the things that is required for our livelihood, for our physical well. ואי אפשר לחיות זולתן, and we cannot live without them. It's impossible to live without them. כעניין שנאמר צדיק אוכל לשובע נפשו, like it says that a righteous person eats in order to satisfy his soul. וכן לא יהיה עמל בעסקיו אלא להשיג דבר שצריך לחיי שעה, and that we will, when we have business and we are working, we shouldn't be I think it's called workaholic. So we shouldn't be workaholic, but we will work on it to enable us to acquire everything that we need for our livelihood in this world. And כעניין שנאמר טוב מעט לצדיק, that the righteous person, better is little for the righteous. בסייעתא דשמיא, this is written in Tehillim chapter 37 verse 16. And it continues, ולא יקפוץ ידיו ביותר, and we shouldn't be cheap like this. A husband shouldn't be cheap with his children and with his wife, Bezrat Hashem. He should know that when we open our hands to our family, to the household, Hashem opens the gates of heaven to us too, because he's a mashpia and she's a mushpat. The wife is a mushpat, she's influenced, and he's the influencer, which means he provides for her, and she uses it in order to see that everything that we need, all of the livelihood that we need in the house, will have b'siyata dishma. So it should be with a good heart, Be'ezrat Hashem, and Hashem will provide more to the father and mother that give the children, and to the husband that gives his wife, Be'ezrat Hashem. So it shouldn't be cheap at home. וגם לא יפזר ממונו, and he shouldn't be, and he shouldn't open also his hands with charity outside without having enough for his house at home. אלא ייתן צדקה כפי משאת ידו, but we should give tzedakah, we should give charity by with calculating that we have also enough to provide for the livelihood of our home בסייעתא דשמיא. ומלווה כראוי למי שצריך, and also we lend money wisely to whomever truly needs, and we can afford to lend. Otherwise, chas v'shalom, we can come and we'll need other people. So Hashem says, no, first it's your family, then comes the others. ולא יהא מהולל ושוחק, and we shouldn't be over happy. We know that we go to parties and instead of fulfilling the will of Hashem, and jolly all the time. This is from the other side, ולא עצב ואונן, and not sad and gloomy, but אלא שמח כל ימיו בנחת בסבר פנים ביפות. But we should be all the time happy with what Hashem gave us, with a friendly face to everyone, with a light in our face to everyone. וכן בכל שאר המידות, and all of the other midot, all of the other character traits that we have, we should always, a wise person always goes in the middle course. Not opening your hand to give charity without even thinking about your home, but to think about your home and to give just like the halacha says, v'siyata nishman. If you're rich, Hashem gave you plenty, then you can give more. So you can give 10th or you can give 20th. It depends on the amount that you have. First you have to provide for your family, b'siyata dishmaya. So, Be'ezrat Hashem, before we'll go, next time we'll go to Orchot Tzadik, we'll continue, but we'll go to Orchot Tzadikim, to the introduction to Orchot Tzadikim. But before we're going now to Masechet Avot. Masechet Avot, chapter 5, Mishnah 19. And before that I will show you that Ish, a man, it shows us exactly that we need to go in the middle course. Why? Because a man in Hebrew is Ish. Ish is the Aleph Yud Shin. Aleph stands for Emtza, middle course. Yud stands for Yemin, right course. And Shin stands for the left course. And each starts with the Aleph in the middle course, which means we need to walk in the middle course. All of our character traits should be in the middle course, not extreme on one side and on the right side, and not extreme on the left side. So even we see it in the word Adam, Ish. So because Aleph is Emtza, Yud is Yemin, and Shin is small. Now we're going to the Masechet Avot, to the Mishnah Masechet Avot, chapter 5, Mishnah Yutet. כל מי שיש בו שלושה דברים הללו הוא מתלמידיו של אברהם אבינו. So one who has the following character traits is from the students of Avraham Avinu. And it says ושלושה דברים אחרים, and he who has three other traits הוא מתלמידיו של בלעם הרשע. He's from the students of the wicked Bilam. תלמידיו של אברהם אבינו. So what do the students, the scholars of Avraham Avinu have? The children of Israel have ayin tova. We have a good eye, Be'ezrat Hashem, which means a generous eye, that we are not jealous of others. Veruach nemucha, and the low spirit. V'siyat, a humble spirit. V'nefesh shlema, v'nefesh shpela, and a modest soul. So the students of Avraham Avinu, they got it's like inheriting the character traits of Avraham Avinu. Avraham Avinu is our forefather of the children of Israel. So his students, his generations that come after him, they have good eye, they have humble spirit, and they have a modest soul, that they are satisfied with what Hashem gave them. And they are not jealous of others, but everybody is happy with other people's success. This is being satisfied. This is a good eye, a good heart, Bezrat Hashem. תלמידיו של בלעם הרשע, the students of בלעם הרשע, they have ayin ra, an evil eye, because they are not satisfied with anything that they have. They are jealous of others. They can't even be happy with the blessings that Hashem bestowed upon them. Because if a person doesn't have a good eye and a good heart, he can't be even happy with what Hashem gave him. He doesn't see it. He only sees that Hashem gave the neighbor a new car. Hashem gave the neighbor this. I don't have it. If we needed to have it, Hashem would have given us. But if Hashem didn't give us, it means that we don't need to have it. And if we need it, we think that we need it, we say, Hashem, thank you that you gave my neighbor a new car. Please, Hashem, all of the cars belong to you. Please, Hashem, give us also a car, b'siyata dishmaya. This is what we need to do. Then Hashem says, look at my daughter. She understands what's going on in this world. She sees the truth beyond the falseness of this world. We are just visitors over here. So she asked so nice from me, b'siyata dishmaya, I have to give her. But this is if we are truly from the heart, because Hashem sees our heart, happy for others. So the students of Bilam Rasha have the wicked Bilam. They have a bad eye, which means an evil eye. Veruach gvoa, an arrogant spirit. They are haughty. Venefesh rechava, and greedy soul. Everything that they see, they want to have. It's not enough. They have money, they need more money. They're not satisfied with anything. It continues, the Mishnah, and it says, why is it good to be in the middle course? מה בין תלמידיו של אברהם אבינו לתלמידיו של בלעם הרשע? What is the difference between the students of Avraham Avinu and the students of wicked Bil'am? תלמידיו של אברהם אבינו, the students of Avraham Avinu, אוכלים בעולם הזה, will eat and enjoy the benefits of their good traits in this world, ונוחלים לעולם הבא. And בסייעתא דשמיא, the reward, they're going to have a great reward in the world to come. Why? Because they saw the truth beyond the falseness. So if a person sees this, he's happy. This is called a wise person. Why? Because a wise person looks at the half glass that is full, with what Hashem gave him. He's satisfied with what Hashem gave him. So this is the initials of Chacham. Chacham in Hebrew, a wise person in Hebrew, wise in Hebrew, Chacham, Chet Mem, Chet Chaf Mem. It's Chatzi kos melea, half glass filled. Chatzi starts with a Chet, kos with a Chaf, melea with a Mem. It's half a glass that is filled. So it says in Mishlei, King Solomon says in Mishlei chapter 8, verse 21, Ve'ezrat Hashem, להנחיל אהבה יש ואוצרותיהם ממלא. I will cause those who love me to inherit the world to come, and I will also fill up their storehouses in this world. So if you're satisfied with what Hashem gave you, and you say thank you Hashem that also bestows goodness on all of the humanity in this world, and you're happy for the success of others, which this is the being humble, Bezrat Hashem, and having a good eye, B'siyata Dishmaya, and a modest soul, B'siyata Dishmaya, that you're avoiding unnecessary luxuries in this world, and you're satisfied with what Hashem gave you. Then Hashem gives you, also fulfills all of your storehouses in this world, and you have a big reward in the world to come. But the תלמידיו של אברהם אבינו, the students of, תלמידיו של בלעם הרשע, but the students of the wicked בלעם, יורשים גיהינום, they inherit hell, ויורדים לבאר שחת, and Hashem will put them down. They will go down into the pit of destruction, לבאר שחת, שנאמר, it says in Tehillim chapter 55 verse 24, ואתה אלוקים, and you God, תורידם לי בארץ שחת, you will bring them down to a pit of destruction, and shade דמים ומרמה לא יחצו ימיהם. Men who are bloodthirsty and liars do not live for even half of their days. And ואני אפתח בך, and I am going to trust in you. So even if you see wicked people, they're still alive, and they are doing wicked things, know that there's a judge to the world. And Hashem knows what he's doing. So King David says at the end, V'ani eftach bach, and I will put my trust in you. Even if I see that this is an upside world, I know that you know that there's a divine presence in this world, divine providence in this world, and Hashem knows, and he gives exactly to each and every one of us what he needs. So from here we know, B'siyata Dishmaya, that if we want really good fortune, we should go in the middle part. We should have a good eye. We should have a humble spirit. We should have a modest soul, B'siyata Dishmaya, and be satisfied with what Hashem gave us, and be happy with the success of others, Be'ezrat Hashem. This is the initials of Ish. Ish, it shows us how to walk. A man, in Hebrew, Ish, will always go in the middle course. Because Aleph is Emtza, Yud is right. We don't go to the right extreme side. We don't go to the left extreme side. We go in the middle course. And B'siyata Dishmaya, with this, we'll continue next time. And Hashem will help us. I would like to bless all of us that we will all have the zchut to greet Mashiach tzidkenu b'chamim רואים במהרה בימינו אמן. אליהו הנביא זכור לטוב, לעולם ייפרד אדם מחברו בדבר הלכה יחיד ורבים הלכה כרבים. Have a good Shabbos, שבת שלום ומבורך upon us and כלל ישראל בעזרת השם.
אמן ואמן. Beautiful שיעור.